So I've got the pork shoulder and it is enormous. So I'm making a rub to just rub all over the outside before I start cooking it. And all that is kosher salt, black pepper, and paprika because it is perfect paprika pork shoulder. I'm just gonna stir the 3 ingredients together and that's the rub. Therein lies the rub. So I'll bring this big old pork up on the board and I'm just literally going to sprinkle and rub this mixture all over the fat and all sides. The fat, the meat, the top, the bottom, the sides. So I'm making a complete mess of my kitchen, which is a good sign. That means whatever I'm cooking is gonna be delicious. That's what I tell myself. Okay, that's pretty good. You can spend a little bit more time sort of massaging the rub in, but it's not too necessary. So I turned on this enormous Dutch oven. There's a little bit of oil in there and I'm gonna put it fat side down right in. So it's gonna take me a little time. I'll let it stay on the fat side until some of that fat starts to render, and then I'll flip it over, do the same, and keep going until all the surface is seared. I'm gonna wash my hands. I'll see you back here. All right, here we go. Ready, set, whoop. All right, I'll let it sit there for just a minute or two. So the pan is still super hot, and I've got some sliced onion, and they're going straight into that cooking liquid, which is a combination of the fat from the pork, the olive oil, and the rub, all those flavors. I have a bunch of whole garlic cloves. This is gonna cook forever in the oven. So the garlic cloves are basically just gonna disappear eventually. Ooh, it is looking and smelling absolutely amazing. So one more little flavor thing I wanna add is a bouquet garni, which is basically just a little bundle of fresh herbs. And I'm gonna get them tied together. And this is a combination of rosemary, thyme, and bay leaves. It's so pretty. My mom used to do this in soups. So it just goes right in. I'll stir it to get those flavors going. And now there are some little bits on the bottom of the pan, and the best way to loosen those up and deglaze is with a cup of wine. But you want to just scrape all those bits off the bottom of that pan. All righty, looking good. So now I'm going to add some more liquid since this needs to braise in the oven, and that's just a whole carton of chicken broth, or you can do beef broth, veggie broth, anything you want. So then comes some adobo sauce and a couple of chipotle peppers. So now I have to put this back into the pot. I thought this stage of my life was over. It's not. Here we go, wish me luck. Okay, so it goes meat side down, fat side up. All right, I'll turn off the stove, put the lid on. Now, this needs to go into the oven. I was not planning ahead. I should have cooked this over there. Where's Ree Drummond when I need him? So this is gonna go into a 300-degree oven for about 4 to 5 hours until it's fork tender. So I'm gonna put this in the oven, go live my life. You do the same, and I'll see you back here on the other side. Oh! Oh, ho, ho. Hello, hello. Gosh, I'm so excited about this. And honestly, as enormous as that pork looked when I put it into the pan, it really does shrink somehow. It turns into a less embarrassing piece of meat. Okay, so look at all this. All right, I'm gonna leave the liquid there for now, and it's about shredding at this point. So it should be tender enough just to use 2 forks and pull things apart. This is gonna take me a few minutes, so I'm gonna shred and shred and shred until it's all done. Don't leave me. We've got a lot to do today. So back to the pot. I'm just gonna use this slotted spatula to get some of the garlic cloves out, some of the cooked onions, and I'm just gonna put it right over the meat. And look what I found, the bouquet garni, which I don't need anymore. So the liquid that the pork cooked in is so delicious, and you do not wanna throw it out. So I'm gonna pour it into this measuring pitcher. There is so much fat in this liquid that I like to get rid of it before I use the liquid for the various dishes. So the best way to do that is to stick this in the fridge. You can see it's already starting to separate, but in the fridge, it'll turn into a solid that I can just skim off and easily remove. So I'm gonna shred the pork a little more, let it cool, put it in containers, and then I'm gonna show you 3 ways to use this meat. Every single recipe is fun and fabulous. Oh, it's so good. It reminds me of New Mexico. I'm actually gonna make a big batch and freeze it as a meal kit alongside tortillas and grated cheese. I've already browned 1 batch of pork. I'm using pork shoulder that I cut into chunks. It's my favorite kind of pork to use for any stew or roast. It's really tough when it's uncooked, and then the longer you cook it, the more it just falls apart and becomes tender. I toss the chunks of pork in a little bit of flour and salt and pepper. The flour just helps develop a nice crust when you're browning it. I'm really searing the heck out of this pork. I want to get it really brown because that's where the flavor comes in. Now I'm gonna make the rest of the stew, and I've got a bunch of chopped onion. This stew cooks for a long time, so you want to start with quite a nice pile. And then I'm also adding carrots. I'm gonna add some garlic, and then I have some oregano, and I'll pick off the leaves, and then I'll chop it up and add it in. So the oregano goes in, and then I have some ancho chili powder. A little goes a long way, so I'm gonna add a tablespoon, and that should be good. A little more salt and pepper. Okay, I'll stir all of this so the flavors are mixed together. Okay, I need the veggies to cook for about 5 minutes. So while they do, I'm gonna peel and chop the roasted poblanos. Okay, I got the poblanos chopped. Now I also have a jalapeno pepper, a serrano pepper, and some husked tomatillos. I put all of these right under the broiler for about 5 minutes, tossed them in olive oil first. They all got some little bit of black skin. They're not totally charred like if I had roasted them over an open flame. I'll just chop the tomatillos roughly. All of this is gonna go into the stew and cook low and slow, so you don't have to dice everything too fine. I took out the seeds of the poblano chilies, but I actually left the seeds of the jalapenos and serranos. I may live to regret that. It's gonna make the stew pretty spicy. That's what sour cream is for, right? Okay, I'll give this a stir. All this beautiful browned pork. It makes such a difference to sear the pork before you put it in. If you just put it in raw, you would never get that beautiful caramelized flavor. Then 2½ cups of vegetable broth. And finally, a couple of bay leaves. And I'll get everything stirred. I'll turn the heat down, and I'm gonna let it cook for an hour. Time's up. Let's take a look. Now the first thing I need to do is fish out the bay leaves. I'm gonna cut a lime in half, and this is a really juicy lime. It's amazing what a difference this little bit of lime juice makes in this stew. And then I chopped some cilantro, about 1/4 cup, and it goes in, and I'm gonna stir this beautiful mixture together. Now with the stew, I'm freezing some white corn tortillas, and then just a couple of separate containers of grated cheddar cheese. Now I've got to transfer the stew into a foil container, and while I do, let me tell you how this gorgeous meal comes together. So I'll put the pan of frozen stew into a 375-degree oven for 40 minutes, then put in some tortillas wrapped in foil, give everything another 10 minutes, and then take them out. Now it's all about serving up. Everyone gets a big bowl full of the green chili deliciousness with some of the cheddar cheese I froze and thawed, some chopped fresh cilantro, sour cream, a lime wedge, and tortillas. Dinner for 6 could not be easier. I'm going to start with apple cider pork chops. These are so delicious, perfect for any weeknight, really packed with flavor and gorgeous color too. So I just have 4 very thin breakfast chops, and I'm making a super simple breading. All I added to the dish was a little bit of flour and some barbecue rub seasoning. And it's just amazing how little flour it takes for this recipe. I have a skillet with just a little bit of oil and butter, and I'm gonna dredge these pork chops one by one, and I'll just put them straight into the skillet. It's on about medium heat. And this is just a nice light breading. It gives you a little bit of breading, but it doesn't just weigh it down like a really heavy chicken fried steak type breading. And these pork chops are so thin that they're gonna cook really quickly, which is nice. Gone are the days when I would have to make, say 18, 24 pork chops a night. When Bryce, Jamar, and Todd were all home in high school playing football, it was like I couldn't make enough pork chops. And now I know that Lad and I both can eat 2 each at the most. If we're lucky, we may even have a little bit left over for lunch the next day. This empty nest life is hilarious. Okay, the pork chops are in the skillet. So I just need to let them cook for about 2 minutes per side since they're so thin, and then I'll take them out of the pan. The pork chops cook really fast. 2 minutes is all it takes. Then I'll flip them over, give them the same time on the other side, and take them out onto a pan. Now this is a 1-pan meal, so I'm gonna add some potatoes to the mix, and I have these teeny tiny baby potatoes, and I cut them in half so they would cook even faster. And I'm just pouring them into the skillet without cleaning it because there's so much flavor in that skillet with the pork chops and that barbecue seasoning. And then I'll sprinkle over some sliced red onion. You can do regular yellow onion if that's what you have. I think red onion is particularly pretty. And I also have some sliced garlic cloves, so I'll sprinkle those over. And plenty of rosemary. Okay, now it's a little tough, but I need to let the potatoes cook without stirring them. I'm just gonna let that go for a couple of minutes. Okay, the potatoes are sizzling away, so I am gonna go ahead and start stirring, and then the onions will have a chance to cook. Oh my gosh. Now, even though this is a meal for 2, I used a pretty big pan because I wanted there to be enough of that surface area so I could sprinkle all the potatoes in. All right, so I'm gonna move on with some liquid. These are apple cider pork chops, so the apple cider goes in first, and the natural sugars in the apple cider are gonna start to kind of cook and caramelize. Oh my gosh, that smells so good. And just a little bit of chicken stock to give it a little more liquid. If you wanted to, you could add some white wine or even something like a little hit of whiskey, bourbon. Any kind of booze would be really good in this. All right, and then I have some balsamic glaze, and I'll just squeeze in a good tablespoon or 2. And that just kind of adds that deep, rich balsamic tanginess, and the sweetness from the glaze also helps a lot too. You know, this skillet was so hot, and it's big enough that the sauce is already really starting to reduce. If you need to give it a couple of minutes to thicken and reduce a little bit, just go right ahead. Everything will still be delicious. All right, that has reduced by about half. So I'm gonna make this even more scrumptious by adding a little bit of heavy cream. I'll just pour it here, there, and everywhere. The cream is optional. If you want the dish to be less creamy, just leave it out. I love dishes like this, just 1-pan meals where you can decide which direction to take it. The basic recipe is delicious no matter what direction you go. Okay, now one last thing, a little hit of green. I've got some spinach leaves, and at this point, the sauce is pretty much cooking. You just want to stir it around long enough for the spinach to wilt about halfway. I like to serve it when the spinach is still kind of just halfway wilted, and that way it's not totally mushy. Okay, ooh, this looks so pretty. I love this dish. So much flavor going on. I think I'm gonna sprinkle in a little bit of pepper, just for fun. Now, truth be told, on any given night, Lad would be more than happy if I just made a cheeseburger or a steak. But I would lose interest quick if I had to make a steak or a burger every single night. So I love dishes like this that they kind of cross the protein off the list. Lad loves pork chops, but it also satisfies my need for flavor and texture and color. All right, looks fantastic. So I'm gonna turn the heat off and get the pork chops. And I'm just gonna nestle them in, or you can put them straight on the plates and spoon the sauce over and alongside. You can sort of push the ingredients all around the chops. But how pretty is this? You can even take a little balsamic, just decorate it a little bit. All right, and finally, a sprinkle of parsley. I love this dish. It's beautiful. It's elegant. It's just enough for Lad and me. Delicious pork tenderloin. It's stuffed, wrapped in bacon, and it's worth every step. So I started by pounding a pork tenderloin, a whole tenderloin, really flat. Now I'm going to season the pork with salt and pepper. And then I'm basically going to put a filling on top. So it starts with cream cheese, and I've been softening this for a couple of hours, so it's pretty soft. I'll just put it face down and just kind of spread it all the way to the end. And you want to leave quite a rim on either side. And then pesto comes next, 1/4 cup. I'll just plop it right on there. And then I've got sun-dried tomatoes, and I'll just sprinkle those all over. Pine nuts for a yummy flavor and crunch. And then spinach. This is really a pretty filling for the pork tenderloin. Okay, so I'm gonna start rolling it and try to get it into a neat roll. Wish me luck. I'll pull up the side closest to me, and then as I roll it, I'm just gonna try to keep it super tight so all that filling kind of stays right in the center. And then I have another little surprise. I have a piece of plastic wrap on a separate board. Get off! And I shingled bacon slices. So look at this, Alex. How beautiful. Okay, so I'm gonna start rolling, and I'm gonna use the plastic wrap to kind of be a guide. Can you see this? And as I roll it, you can see that the bacon is totally encasing the pork. Pork and pork. Delicious. This is a really great recipe, and you can make it, you know, it's really not too complicated that you can't make it for family, but it's really good for company. Okay, I'm gonna take the plastic wrap out from underneath, and then I just need to tie twine around the pork just to keep everything really tight. I'm gonna tie about 4 pieces here and there. Now I'm gonna put this onto a sheet pan, and then I'll just put this into the fridge and let it chill until dinner time. And when I'm ready to bake it, I'll put it in a 400-degree oven for about 45 minutes. But we don't have to wait that long right now. I'm gonna put this in the fridge, go wash my hands, and then I have a surprise for you. Okay, my hands are clean, cutting board's clean. I did a little cleanup job. And look at this. I actually made one earlier just so I could show you how wonderful this is. Look, Alex. Look at the bacon. how beautiful it turned out. And you know we have to cut into this, right?
Oh yeah.
Come in here. I'm gonna turn this way so you can see. You can snip off the little pieces of twine, but I can't wait that long. I gotta show you. Second piece is always prettier. Dinner is fast approaching, so I'm gonna pull it together using my new favorite piece of cooking equipment, a multi-cooker. I'm making pork carnitas. Something that would usually take over 3 hours to make is gonna be done in no time at all. Now I used the multi-cooker to saute 3 pounds of pork shoulder that I cut into big cubes. I sauteed it until it got nice color on the outside. Now I'm gonna saute 2 sliced onions and 2 sliced and seeded poblano chilies. Pressure cooking is something that scares a lot of people, but the magic of it is it cooks something like carnitas in 30 to 45 minutes. Okay, I'm gonna saute the onions and peppers. It's gonna take about 3 minutes. So I'm gonna add some great flavor. 2 teaspoons of ancho chili powder, 2 teaspoons of ground cumin, one of my top 5 favorite spices of all time, and then a big tablespoon of Mexican oregano. I'm adding a bunch of minced garlic. Now I just want to keep sauteing this so the spices will start to develop their flavor. They'll coat all those vegetables. Whenever you're using a pressure cooker, you definitely want to add liquid. I'm adding mine in the form of lemon lime pop, just a whole can. I'm gonna add some fresh orange juice and some fresh orange zest. I love the flavor of carnitas. So the pork, of course, is the star of the show, and I'm gonna add it back in. Now I'll put the lid on, and I'll walk you through the rest of the cooking process. First, I'll seal the cooker and set the cook time to 25 minutes. When the time's up, it turns itself off, and after 10 minutes of natural venting, I'll release the remaining pressure by switching to quick vent. I'll let the steam escape, and I'll wait until the float valve drops. It takes about 2 minutes. All the pressure has safely released. Oh, so I'm gonna take this pork out. I'm gonna shred the meat. All I have to do is basically breathe on it. It's gonna fall apart. I'm gonna put the pork under the broiler. I'm gonna let it start to crisp up. And while it does, I'm gonna make some queso and warm some tortillas. I'll just throw a pound of cubed processed cheese into a pan, turn the heat to medium-low, add a 10-ounce can of hot diced tomatoes and chilies, 2 4-ounce jars of diced pimientos with their juice, mix them together, and stir the queso occasionally until the cheese is fully melted. Then for the tortillas, I'll heat them in a microwave wrapped in a dishcloth for about 15 seconds. They're ready, so I'll just keep them wrapped up until it's time to eat. And look at that, the queso's done. Back to the carnitas. They are crisp, delicious, and ready to come out. Look at how scrumptious this pork looks. All those little brown bits, so crispy. Now I'm gonna get some of this luscious cooking juice. I don't want this to go to waste. I'm just gonna stir this and mix all the pork together with the juices. Those crispy bits aren't going anywhere. They'll still be part of the mix. Oh, carnitas are a triumph. First a tortilla, then carnitas, a nice big pile of meat, or maybe 2 spoonfuls. After that, a generous spoonful of queso, a sprinkling of cilantro leaves, and finally, peach salsa. I'm gonna start by making pork marsala with mushrooms. It is one of my all-time favorite dinners. Yum. So I just pulled some pork chops out of a skillet, and I'm gonna go ahead and add the noodles because they're gonna take a little bit to cook, but I wanna show you these pork chops up close and personal. I basically just salt and peppered them and then dredged them in a little flour, put them in a skillet with olive oil and butter, and they're nice and brown, and this skillet is full of flavor. So I'm gonna go ahead and add the mushrooms. We're a little light in the kitchen this morning because I left our house and I left Bryce and Todd sleeping. So my nephew Stuart had to run down to the house and wake them up because they've got to go lift and go to football practice. Just another summer day on Drummond Ranch. Okay, so the mushrooms are going. I've got the skillet over medium heat. So now, since this is pork marsala, I thought I'd add some marsala wine. And it's kind of a sweet, mysterious wine, and it is delicious in cooking. I added a cup, and then I need a little more liquid that isn't boozy. So I'm gonna go ahead and measure a cup of low sodium beef broth and pour it in. It's smelling good. Can you smell that marsala wine? Okay, now I just need to stir the mushrooms and let the wine broth mixture reduce. It's gonna take just a few minutes. You know what? I love marsala wine so much. I'm just gonna go ahead and add another little splash.
Take a little sip.
I don't like to drink marsala wine. I just like to cook with it. Oh, Stuart's back, yay! Okay, so this is looking good. It's kind of hard to tell from all this yummy steam, but the mushrooms are starting to really cook down, and the liquid is a little bit thicker. It's reduced by about half. So I'm gonna turn the heat down just a bit, and I'm gonna measure some cream. I love the mixture of the wine and the broth, and then you add some cream in there, and it just turns the whole mixture into complete and utter heaven. So I'm gonna add 2 teaspoons of cornstarch because it thickens the sauce, and you don't have to sit there and wait for it to thicken. So I'm just gonna pour the cream and cornstarch mixture. It'll look a little funny at first. That's what my mom said about me when I was born. Never mind. So I'm gonna go ahead and add some salt and pepper. This works with chicken breasts, chicken thighs. Honestly, I could probably just make the marsala mushroom sauce by itself and toss it with pasta. That wouldn't hurt my feelings at all. I love a vegetarian pasta.
The pasta isn't getting overcooked, is it?
Oh no, let's check on the pasta and take a look. These are kind of thick noodles. So, while this thickens up, I'm gonna add some butter to a deep skillet, and I'll show you why. Got the heat on about medium, and I'm gonna go ahead and grab the noodles out of the pan. So look, I'm gonna put the noodles into the skillet with the butter. You getting that, Alex?
Yep. Look at those thick guys.
Plenty of salt and pepper. This is gonna be so good. And then I'm gonna throw some minced parsley into the noodles. And I know you're gonna wanna watch this, Alex.
Yeah, I love this part.
Because you love noodles. Can you see? It's so steamy at this stove right now.
I thought you were gonna go like
So did I.
Oh.
Try it.
I don't think I better try that. Okay, I'll try it. You ready?
Don't make me beg.
Yeah, that works.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, this is a steam facial to end all steam facials. And the noodles look amazing. I'm gonna check the sauce. My gosh, Alex, don't eat the noodles. Oh, it looks so good. So I'm gonna add some parsley to the sauce as well.
Oh yeah, it's looking good.
Oh, it looks beautiful. And this is the best part. Let's move all this down. There, that's so much better. And the first thing is the noodles. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
And I love serving pork marsala on a big, beautiful platter. And then I'll go ahead and put the pork chops on first. Oh my goodness. See all this juice on this platter?
Mm-hmm.
Follow. Put it into the sauce.
Yum.
So that's a lot of flavor right there. I'm gonna pick up this monstrous iron skillet that your papa gave to me many years ago. Bend from the knees.
It's your workout for the day.
And then it just gets poured over. And that sauce is gonna kind of seep down and cover up those noodles.
Yum.
I just think this is, I can't speak for a moment here. Oh, there we go. And then of course it needs just a tiny bit more parsley. What do you guys think of this?
Yummy, yummy.
That's amazing.
Pork marsala with mushrooms. Delicious. Where's yours, Stu?
Well, that is mine.
So I'm making the seasoning mix for the pork first. And it started with a tablespoon of dried fennel, a tablespoon of rosemary, and then 2 teaspoons each of garlic salt and oregano, and then 2 teaspoons of kosher salt, just a very simple seasoning blend. Okay, I am gonna use pork tenderloin for these pork sandwiches. So I started with 2 whole pork tenderloins, and I just cut them in half, and I'm gonna just completely encrust them in this seasoning blend. I'm gonna use tongs. So I have an iron skillet over medium-high heat, and here I go. The first thing I'm gonna do is sear the pork. So obviously, if you're making Italian pork sandwiches, you can use any pork you want. You can do pork chops, pork shoulder, you know, low and slow, cook it and then shred it. But I really wanted to do pork tenderloin because it slices up so nice and neat, and it tastes so good. Anything you season it with on the outside, that's kind of the amazing flavor the whole thing will take on. Okay, so I just need to move these little pieces of pork around in the skillet until they're totally seared on all sides. Okay, those look pretty good to me. They're golden brown on all sides, but they're still totally uncooked in the middle. And that's where the oven comes in. So Alex, would you like to go to the oven with me? I sear them in the skillet to get the color, but I'm gonna put them in the oven to finish them off. So here we go. Ready? I'm gonna follow them into the oven. All right. So those are gonna cook at 350 for about 18 to 20 minutes, and then we'll finish off the sandwich. Okay, the pork smells so good, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Let's see how it looks, though.
Oh, baby.
Oh, it's sizzling away. Look at that.
Yum.
It's getting heavy. I was trying to be a tough girl. Whew, boy, oh boy, that was some heavy pork. The first thing I'm gonna do is put the pork on a cutting board because it needs to rest. Resting is really essential when you take meat out of the oven like this because it'll allow the juices to kind of redistribute in the meat. But look at the underside, how tasty that looks. Look how dark and luscious that got on that iron skillet. Okay, so I have some other things to make for the sandwiches. I'm gonna make a simple mayo, and that's just mayo, along with some lemon zest. Lemon zest, and a clove of garlic. Bryce just started his senior year yesterday. Can you believe that? When Mauricio first burst onto the scene, Bryce was what, like 8th grade, 9th grade?
It's true.
So the mayo is just mayonnaise, lemon zest, and garlic. So that's gonna go on the sandwiches. And then the other thing that I like to pile on is just arugula with a little bit of olive oil and a little bit of, what is this?
Balsamic.
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 Yeah.
See, I say balsamic, and I feel like a fraud when I say balsamic because everybody knows I say balsamic. And I know it's wrong, but I've said it this long, and
Just our country roots.
okay, so that's just the simple arugula. So now that the pork has rested, I'm gonna slice one of the pieces. So this is a really great tailgate recipe because you can get all the buns ready. As you can tell, I got my buns ready.
Is that some ciabatta?
That's some ciabatta rolls. And I just toasted them with some olive oil, and I'm gonna add a generous amount of the mayo to both halves. I don't believe in thin applications of mayo to anything. I really like it to kind of squeeze out the sides of the sandwich. Okay, and then the pork is most important, so I will just kind of fit as many pieces as I can. Okay, Mauricio's gonna try. So back to the sandwich. The other thing, I love to add roasted red peppers right out of the jar. And I don't like to cut them or slice them. I just like to have these big slabs. And look how pretty. You can stop it right there, or you can pile on the arugula, which I like to do. You know, I'm happiest in life when I'm piling on the arugula. Just saying. Okay, look, I like to put on so much that you can hardly imagine getting the lid on.
The lid.
Yep,
The lid.
that's what I call it. All right, now look at this. That is what you call an Italian pork sandwich. Absolutely stunning. You know, when I cook for a crowd, I don't like to make a bunch of individual hamburgers or steaks. It's a little too labor intensive. So pulled pork is really the perfect dish. I've got a pork butt here, also known as a pork shoulder. I'm gonna start by seasoning the pork with salt and pepper. And then I've got 2 onions that I've quartered, and I'm gonna put the quarters in the bottom of this pot. And that's gonna serve as sort of a base or a stand for the pork butt. And then I've got a can of chipotle peppers, which has become a real staple in my pantry. They're smoky and extremely spicy, and they add something really wonderful to this pork. Just pour them over the top. And then I call this spicy pop pulled pork because it has pop in it. Do you say pop or soda? We say pop around here. You can use whatever kind you like. Okay, and now I'm gonna add, for a little extra sweetness, 4 tablespoons of brown sugar. And this is gonna cook over 6 hours. The pork is gonna become tender, the flavors are just gonna be wonderful, there'll be a sauce that's a combination of spicy and sweet. I gotta get this in the oven. This is gonna cook low and slow, about 300 degrees for 6 hours. And it's gonna be absolutely perfect. I know the cowboys and cowgirls out there are gonna love it. All right, ready, set, go. Okay, it made it, good. And then I'm just gonna pull the pork. Oh my goodness, just look at that. Just completely falls apart. I love this recipe. I make it all the time. It's just too easy to throw in the oven. When in doubt, make spicy pot pulled pork. Having a bad day? Make spicy pot pulled pork. I'll stop now. I'm just gonna skim a little bit of the fat off of the liquid. The extra fat will just slide right on the spoon. All right, now I'm just gonna scoop it back in. And this just lets the meat soak in that liquid and injects extra flavor into that meat. Now I'm just gonna go finish off the rest of the food. Pressure cooker pulled pork dinner. And I've got a multi-cooker, also known as an Instant Pot, and I'm gonna put it on saute mode, so that'll start getting hot. So I cut the onion into chunks, and now you wanna grab a few garlic cloves and whacking it until it's flat. If a clove of garlic flies across the kitchen, that just means you're doing it right. It means you're having fun. I'm gonna give the garlic a rough chop. So now that it's hot, you wanna take some olive oil, and then these big chunks of onion go in, and then add the garlic. And now I'm going to cut up a pork butt. It's really called a pork shoulder roast, but in my neck of the woods in Oklahoma, it's sometimes called a pork butt roast. And I'm just gonna cut this into about 2-inch chunks. Okay, so I've got half the pork cut up, and it goes in. So you wanna add kosher salt, some chili powder, and I've got onion powder and garlic powder, so you wanna add those in. This is a really flavorful pork. So I'm gonna move the pork around on the surface of the multi-cooker, and I really want it to sear on one side. It's gonna take a few minutes. So I'm gonna let that sit and start to sear, and I'm gonna use this opportunity to cut up the rest of this pork. This kind of meat has a lot of tough connective tissue, And that's what makes it eventually so tender. I used to call them low and slow meats until the pressure cooker came along. And then when it browns on the other side, I'm gonna take all of this out, and then I'll do the second batch of meat and vegetables, and I'll meet you back here. All right, guys. I got a really beautiful golden color on this. The onions are soft. So you wanna take your first batch of pork and onions and garlic, and it goes back in with the second. Okay, now the thing I learned the hard way about a pressure cooker is that it has to have liquid inside in order to build up pressure. So I'm just using chicken stock. You wanna pour in 3 cups, give or take. The pork is gonna give off moisture as it cooks too. So now the lid goes on, and listen to this. It gives you a very satisfying little chime when the lid is on correctly. Make sure that the vent is on sealing. You want it closed. And then I'm gonna pressure cook it for 40 minutes. This is a delicious dinner. I'm gonna serve creamy cheese grits and roasted Brussels sprouts, and the combination is just out of this world. Roasted Brussels sprouts are like candy to me. I just cannot control myself when they're around. You want to put half of the sprouts on one pan, put the rest on the other pan. Oh, they're so pretty. Now you want to drizzle these generously with the olive oil. When you're roasting them in the oven, you want to really get those edges sizzly. Olive oil always helps that along. Kosher salt and some pepper. Very, very simple. And then I have found no better way to toss Brussels sprouts than with my trusty, rusty hands. Preheat the oven to 375. Just put them right in. So now I'm gonna make the most delicious batch of grits you have ever dreamed about. So I've got some chicken broth, and I'm gonna go ahead and add the grits so they can start cooking. These are stone ground grits, but they're quick cooking, so they really only take about 3 or 4 minutes. Okay, I'm gonna add some other mischief to the pot. I've got some pepper jack cheese. So to the pepper jack, you wanna add some grated cheddar, and then I love to add heavy cream to grits. So you can add everything from a couple of tablespoons to what I'm adding, which is about 1/4 cup. And I like to add it before the grits are finished cooking. So I'm gonna start stirring this in so the cheese can start to melt. And then this is a new favorite ingredient for me to add to grits, mascarpone cheese. Basically, I'm adding every form of cream that exists, adding some butter. Grits are basically a vessel for all the fats in your fridge. Oh, you guys, it already looks amazing. Now, grits do not come pre-salted, so I definitely want to add a good teaspoon, and then you can always add more after you taste it. Look what we just made. Creamy, cheesy, delectable, heavenly, wonderful grits. And now, look at these sprouts, guys. Can you believe those light green, beautiful sprouts turned into these roasted wonders? Now back to the Instant Pot. There's still a lot of pressure in there, so I'm gonna do a manual release. That always catches me by surprise no matter how many times I use the Instant Pot. Lo and behold, the little indicator button popped down, and that means it's safe to take the lid off. I'm gonna pull the pork. There's quite a bit of liquid in here, so it's good to just get it free of the liquid, and then you can shred the heck out of it. Oh, this smells so delicious. No onion should go to waste. Now, I've got 2 forks on standby. I like to use forks. I really do like to kind of leave some chunks still intact. Get a lot of it shredded, but leave a few chunks behind. Now I'm gonna turn this into barbecue pulled pork. And I took a little shortcut and used a really good bottled sauce. I think bottled barbecue sauce is like the ultimate delicious shortcut. Nobody will ever know. But one thing I love to do with this is just put it out with some crusty rolls and some slaw and let everybody just have pulled pork sandwiches. but I also love it as an entree like I'm about to serve. So watch how this comes together. I'm actually really hungry right now. Very excited about this dish. I'm gonna make a bed of creamy, cheesy grits. So I'll just get some pieces of pork and just put them right in the center. Okay, one more chunk. Don't forget about the sprouts. I kind of think of these as confetti. I'm just gonna sprinkle them all around. And don't be afraid to sprinkle these kind of charred leaves around. I think those are the best part of roasted Brussels sprouts. Pressure cooker pulled pork dinner. It's really the dinner of champions. Oh. This is one of my favorite dinners of all time. Those grits are so creamy and impossibly cheesy. And the tanginess of that barbecue sauce with the tender pork. And if it wasn't good enough, the roasted Brussels sprouts completely send it into a whole different stratosphere. I'm in love. The guys have been working calves all morning and they're wrapping up things now. They're coming up here for a big lunch and I've got almost everything ready. I'm gonna move on to the very last thing, simple pan-fried pork chops. These things are so wonderful, not just because they're easy, but because the guys absolutely inhale them. And I've got them all salted and peppered. The cowboys love lots of black pepper. Now all I'm gonna do is dredge these in a really simple flour mixture. And that starts with about 4 cups of flour, quite a bit of salt, and lots of black pepper. And then I like to throw a little seasoned salt in there just for a little bit extra flavor. And because the cowboys can definitely handle it, a little cayenne, just to keep them on their toes. All right, now just grab a couple pork chops and throw them in. Make sure they're nice and coated, and that's as complicated as it gets. All right, I got 2 coated, now I gotta hurry up and get the rest of these done. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and start frying them up. I've got a big skillet with a mix of canola oil and butter. Now these are just gonna go for about 2 minutes per side until they're nice and golden and crisp. These are looking good, so they're ready to turn. It's funny because the guys are cattle ranchers, how much they love pork chops, but they really are favorites of all the guys. And the girls too. These look nice and golden brown, so I'll get these out. Now I'm gonna fry up the rest of these.
Want some water, Bryce? Plenty? Yeah.
Potatoes look good.
How many calves did you guys work this morning?
145.
I think the little one's got kind of chilly.
Yeah, it was chilly.
It was cold.
So that Ree, Friday we'll have your horse saddled and ready to go.
Okay.
Those potatoes and the green beans or something else. Now they're good.
Oh, Papa.
Amazing.